Yahara prasade bai Dibhavatoriya jai. Krishna prapte hoya Krishna prapti hoya Guru Mukha Padmavakyam Chitete Koriyakyam Guru Mukha Padmavakyam Chitete Koriyakyam Karana kori ho mane asha Karana kori ho mane asha Shri Guru Charane Rati Ese Uttamagati Shri Guru Charane Rati Ese Uttamagati Prasade Pure Sarva Asha Prasade Pure Sarva Asha Chakudan dil je janme janme prabhu se Chakudan dil je janme janme prabhu se Divigane de prakasito Divigane de prakasito Prema bhakti ahate Avijja vinasa jate Prema bhakti ahate Avijja vinasa jate Vedikayar charita Vedikayar charita Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adamajanara Bandhu Shri Guru Jagannath Karajivana Prabhu Korodaya Deha More Pada Chaya Prabhu Korodaya Deha More Pada Chaya Ebechasca Sakribhuvana Ebechasca Sakribhuvana Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Janandana Salakaya Chakshurannilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Om Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Pashtita Disitarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladev, Jai Subhadra. Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladev, Jai Subhadra. Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatame. Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatame. Jaya Nitai Gaura Sundar Nitai Gaura Sundar Gaura Sundar. Jai Gaura Hare Gaura Hare Gaura Hare Jai Gaura Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Vishnupad Param Sapravikraja Jaya Astasara Shri Srimad Bhagavatam Bhakti Vranta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Shri Guru Parampara Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Dasari Gaur Bhakti Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopakapinath Shamakun Radhakun Giriraj Govardhana Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Shri Nilachal Purushottam Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Yamuna Maya Ki Ganga Maya Ki Vasudevi Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Shri Jagannath Puri Suputra Maharani Sudasanchakri Patita Pavani Jai Gaur Sundar Ki Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur.
Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladev, Jai Subhadra. Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladev, Jai Subhadra. Jaya Nitai Gaura Sundar Nitai Gaura Sundar Gaura Sundar. Jaya Gaura Hare Gaura Hare Gaura Hare Jaya Gaura Hare. Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Stotara Sadashi Srimad, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravista Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Stotara Sadashi Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kun Radha Kun Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Ayodhya Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to the lotus feet of Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Vena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatan Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Satutan Parijana Sahitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitam Scha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatade Satarine Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratishe Namaha. Panchatatmakam Krishna Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktar Avatar Bhaktarakyam Namine Bhakta Shaktikam. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate. Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusata Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So this morning we shall continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, which is entitled Answers by Citing the Lord's Version. And we're doing text number 34. The Sanskrit is as follows. Rite ritam yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani tad vidyad atmano mayam yata baso yata tamaha. We're going to do the response of it? Okay. Rite ritam yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani tad vidyad atmano mayam yata baso yata tamaha. Rite ritam yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani tad vidyad atmano mayam yata baso yata tamaha. Rite ritam yat pratiyeta na pratiyena chatmani tad vidyad atmano mayam yata baso yata tamaha. to the word-for-word translation. Please repeat. Vite, without. Artham, value. Yat, that which. Pratiyeta, appears to be. Na, not. Pratiyeta, appears to be. Cha, and. Atmani, in relation to me. Tat, that. Vidyat, you must know. Atmana, my. Mayam, illusory energy. Yata, just as. Abhasaha, the reflection. Yata, as. Tamaha, the darkness. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. Know it as my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. So I'll read it again. O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. Know it as my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. This is quite a long purport. I think I'll read to a certain point and then speak. What is the time now? Almost 8? Okay. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In the previous verse, it has already been concluded that in any stage of the cosmic manifestation, its appearance, its sustenance, its growth, its interactions of different energies, its deterioration and its disappearance, all has its basic relation with the existence of the personality of Godhead. And as such, whatever there is, or as such, whenever there is forgetfulness of this prime relation with the Lord, and whenever things are accepted as real without being related to the Lord, that conception is called a product of the illusory energy of the Lord. Because nothing can exist without the Lord, it should be known that the illusory energy is also an energy of the Lord. The right conclusion of dovetailing everything in relationship with the Lord is called Yoga Maya, or the energy of union. And the wrong conception of detaching a thing from its relationship with the Lord is called the Lord's Devi Maya, or Maha Maya. Both the Mayas also have connections with the Lord, because nothing can exist without being related to Him. As such, the wrong conception of detaching relationships from the Lord is not false, but illusory. Misconceiving one thing for another thing is called illusion. For example, accepting a rope as a snake is illusion, but the rope is not false. The rope, as it exists in front of the illusion person, is not at all false, but the acceptance is illusory. Therefore, the wrong conception of accepting this material manifestation as being divorced from the energy of the Lord is illusion, but it is not false. And this illusory conception is called the reflection of the reality in the darkness of ignorance. Anything that appears as apparently not being produced out of my energy is called Maya. The conception that the living entity is formless or that the Supreme Lord is formless is also illusion. In the Bhagavad Gita 2:12, it is said that by the Lord in the midst of the it was said by the Lord in the midst of the battlefield that the warriors standing in front of Arjun himself and even the Lord had all existed before. They were existing in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and they would also continue to be individual personalities in the future also, even after the annihilation of the present body and even after being liberated from the bondage of material existence. In all circumstances, the Lord and the living entities are individual personalities, and the personal features of both the Lord and the living beings are never abolished. Only the influence of the illusory energy, the reflection of light in the darkness can, by the mercy of the Lord, be removed. In the material world, the light of the sun is also not independent, nor is that of the moon. The real source of light is the Brahma Jyoti, which diffuses light from the transcendental body of the Lord. And the same light is reflected in varieties of light, the light of the sun, the light of the moon, the light of fire, and even the light of electricity. So the identity of the self as being unconnected with the Supreme Self, the Lord, is also illusion. And the false claim, I am supreme, is that illusory snare of the same Maya or the external energy of the Lord. The Vedanta Sutra is in the very beginning affirms that everything is born from the Supreme, and thus, as explained in the previous verse, all individual living entities are born from the energy of the Supreme Living Being, the personality of Godhead. Brahma himself was born from the energy of the Lord, and all other living entities are born from the energy of the Lord. Although the agency of Brahma, none of them has any existence without being dovetailed with the Lord. The independence of the living entity is not real independence, but it is just a reflection of the real independence existing in the Supreme Being, the Lord. The false claim of the supreme independence by the conditioned souls is illusion, and this conclusion is admitted in this verse. So we'll speak a little and then maybe continue with the purport. So in this verse here, this verse is one segment of 4 verses in Srimad Bhagavatam, which is called the Chatur Sloki Bhagavad Gita. The Chatur Sloki Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, is the 4 verses in Bhagavatam which actually describe the whole of the Bhagavatam in a nutshell. These 4 verses. If one understands these 4 verses, then he has understood the whole of the Bhagavatam, basically. Because from these 4 verses, the whole of the Bhagavatam expands. based on these 4 principles. Yeah. You know, last week, His Holiness Ram Govinda Swami was speaking from the verse before this, and at length he described, from that one verse he described so many things, and then he made us repeat, you know, at so many times different things, like, you know, and in that verse there he spoke about this 5 aspects of this that is discussed, you know, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and he spoke about the item of Ishvara, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, the material nature. And then he spoke about activity, karma, and then also time, kala. These are the 5 working concepts, you know, within creation, material, and then also in the spiritual world is the Lord and the living entity. And I'll just, the first of the 4 verses, it starts with text number 33, and in text number 33, Krishna explains how, you know, that he is everything. It is I, the personality of Godhead, who was existing before creation, before creation, when there was nothing but myself, nor was there the material nature, the cause of creation. That which you see now is also I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And after annihilation, that which remains will also be I, the Personality of Godhead. So he's explaining that, you know, past, present, and future. He is both past, present, and future. You know, he is the sum total of past, present, and future. Everything is coming from him. He is the source of everything, and he knows everything. Also, he knows past, present, and future. Another name for Krishna is called Trikala Gyan. He knows he's aware of everything, past, present, and future. So in the first of the 4 verses, Krishna is explaining how he is a source of everything, creation, maintenance, and destruction. So everything you see and know, he is a source of that. And he is the governing principle. And then in this verse, Krishna is saying that there is also the concept of illusion. Some people may misunderstand the workings of the material world, or misunderstand who owns everything and what our relationship is with the owner. That is what is discussed in this verse. And in the next verse, basically Krishna is saying, he throws in some magic of here. The next verse is, O Brahma, please know that these universal elements enter into the cosmos, and at the same time do not enter into the cosmos. I myself also exist within everything created, and at the same time I am outside of everything. I am in everything, but I am also out of everything. Like in the Upanishad, he says, Krishna says, he walks, but he does not walk. He speaks, but he does not speak. Yeah. And then in the last of the 4 verses, which is actually very, very important, Krishna says that a person who is searching after the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, most certainly search for it up to this, in all circumstances, in all space and time, both directly and indirectly. Here Krishna is speaking about the idea about, being inquisitive and finding out about spirituality, how to go about doing it, and then inquiring. And then the concept about the spiritual master comes in there, and also getting out of the material creation with the help of the spiritual master, or the mentor, or the guidance, and the authorities. So the first verse, Krishna is explaining about how everything is coming from him and he is the source of everything, and by his will and by his grace everything is existing. And he said within this creation there is the possibility of being illusioned and how it happens. And then the next verse he says, explains his mysticism, how, as living entities we have to see that he is in everything, although he is in everything, but he is not there also. Because Krishna says he is in every atom. If he is there in every atom, then you may think that he is not somewhere else. But he is also in Goloka Vrindavan. You have to understand that. And for us to understand all of this here, we have to take guidance from spiritual authority. That comes to the fourth verse, how we should be inquisitive and inquire from the right source and from the right person, so we can be educated, and then we can come out of this material illusion or material body, or become liberated. Basically, this is what these 4 verses are speaking. They're all related to each other, and these 4 verses expand into the future of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So coming back to today's verse, text number 34, Krishna says, Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. No, it is my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. The illusory energy of the Lord is called, actually Prabhupada mentions in the purport, he says, Daivi, it is divine. In the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, also in the 7th chapter, and it's spoken about Devi Yesa Guna Maya, Mama Maya Durate, Mam Eva Ya Prabhadyante, Maya Metam Tarantite. That this illusory energy of mind, this divine energy, it is very difficult to overcome. But it becomes easy for one who has surrendered to Krishna. And one who has surrendered to Krishna can easily overcome this material energy. Very, very easily. Now, how to overcome this? The acharyas give the explanation of how there's a verse where they said, this whole material creation, or this whole material world, or the material concept, it is very binding. But one can free oneself, can cross over this ocean by taking shelter of Mukunda or Krishna. And then if one takes shelter of Krishna, then this whole ocean, which is so difficult to swim and to cross, that whole ocean become reduced. Krishna is a supreme mystic. That whole ocean becomes reduced to a little puddle of water that can be contained in the hoof print of a calf, not even a cow, a calf. Now, if this whole ocean gets reduced to a puddle that can be contained in the calf, how easy it is to cross over that. So the whole idea is that we have to surrender to Krishna, then traversing the material, material creation, or dealing, or struggling with everything becomes so easy, because Krishna will reduce everything so that we can overcome it. That is the essence of this surrendering to Krishna. Now, when the Prabhupada explains in the purport here how the living entity and Krishna, they almost the same, in the sense they are spiritual. They are spiritual, and spiritual means full of knowledge, eternal, and full of bliss. And then how come the living entity becomes contaminated or trapped like this? Although the living entity is spiritual and part and parcel of Krishna, when he comes into the material world, he's encaged or trapped by the material elements in the form of a material body. Yeah. Now that material body, the imprisonment comes in the material body with the three modes of material nature. Mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. And as one becomes influenced by these three modes, then one becomes more and more degraded. So the idea is to go beyond the modes of the material nature. The modes make you do things that you don't want to do, or make you do things that will make you suffer now and even suffer in the future. So the idea is to become free of the modes of material nature, passion, ignorance, and goodness. And how is it that we became, how we got this body and how we been subjected to the three modes? We are all in the spiritual world. We all still parts and parcel of Krishna, spiritual. But when we in the material world, the Prabhupada explains also that the living entity, although he is spiritual, is considered to be marginal. Marginal. That means, we have the superior energy and the inferior energy, then he is in the center. You have like two circles. If the two circles intersect, the spiritual and the material, they intersect, that the zone of the intersection, that is marginal. And that's where the living entity is. It can be influenced by both the spiritual and the material. Now, having said that, the living entity, although he has the choice of being influenced by either the material or the spiritual, they come in two categories. Srila Prabhupada explains that the living entities, when they come in, they can be either of two categories. One is, one who is influenced more by the spiritual energy, they become Mahatmas. And those who are influenced by the material energy, they are called Duratmas. Mahatmas means great souls, and then Duratmas are those who are far from being great, those personalities. Now, how our whole existence in the material world is to aspire to become Mahatmas. And the only way we can become that, if we break free from the illusion or the influence of the illusory energy. Now, everything is for us to be had. God has given us independence. We can do, as we like. We can act as Mahatmas or we can act as Duratmas. And the living entity, he is in some kind of a predicament. And the predicament is that he has a mind. And the mind will dictate to him or gives him ideas of what to do and what not to do, how and when, why, like that, based on the influence of the three modes. There are so many things that stimulate him to do things and to act or behave and develop a character. There's so many things. The three modes and externals also. So the example is given of the living entity in the material world is like a child, living in the home of the parent. The child is in the home of the parent. The parent is providing everything, the house, the facilities, like that. And the parent may give the child some independence, give him, he has his own room to do whatever, with his the facilities there. And then the child may think one day, you know what, I'm in my room, my parents cannot see me, they are in the next room, or they're outside, or they may have gone out. So I'm here, they can't see me. The child is thinking, so I'll do whatever I can here, and they won't know. This is what the child is. Sometimes, children, they get up to mischief like that. The living entity is like that. He gets up to mischief, and then he has to suffer the consequences. And the child is using the facility that the parents gave to do something that is not the intention of the parents. Just like, the parents are gone, and the parents may say to the child, like, you cannot watch any movies, PG 14 or whatever, or PG 10. And the child may think, my parents are not here, I'll watch the movie, and they won't know, because they're not here. And before they come back, I'll be finished watching the movie. So this is how the living entity is in the material world. He has all the facilities. Krishna has given him rules and regulations to act in a specific manner. But the child, as the rebellious or the inquisitive, we may do what is not supposed to be done, and there are consequences. Like the parent will tell the child, do not touch, put your hand in fire. The example we use all the time. Do not do this, do not do that. But the child will, out of curiosity, would put their hand there and get burned. Similarly, we are told not to do so many things by the scripture, by the authorities, by good people, but still we do it, and then we have to suffer. Yeah. And the other example is given of of misusing Krishna's what Krishna provides for us, for everybody, or to help us to develop in the material world, to become better persons and become spiritual, and then probably go back to Godhead. The example is given that how, just how Krishna is our friend, we may have a friend. The friend may have so much of opulence, maybe have a house, had facilities, and then we always go to his place, and then, we do things together as friends. But if we have in our mind to go to the person's house, take the food away, take the facility, or, remove things from the person's house, and take it somewhere else, and then eat the food and, enjoy the facility without the person knowing. That is not nice, is it? Yeah. So this is basically what the living entities do. Yeah. They know it belongs to somebody else. They know they have to appreciate it and to take, with the person's consent, and everybody is happy. But the living entities do not like to do that, because they have this selfish mentality, or under the illusion that they always want more, and by doing all of that, then so much bad reaction comes, and then the person has to suffer so much. The Krishna is explaining of how this energy, or whatever we see, or any potency that's out for us to be used, it is his energy. Everything belongs to him, and everything is neutral. Like everything that Krishna is providing is neutral, in the sense you can use it for or against. You can use it for or against. An example is given of the knife. A person may use the knife for something good, or can use the knife for something bad. So everything in the material world is neutral, but how we use it and the purpose we use it for, that will depend whether the thing is good or bad. Understand? So, like Krishna is explaining here, everything here must be seen in relation to Krishna. If you do not see it in relation to Krishna, then that is illusion. If you see it in relation to Krishna, then that's absolute. Yeah. So, just say the flowers. We're looking at the flowers now. If you take the flowers are there, if you use the flowers in relation to Krishna, then it's absolute. But if they use the flowers in another way, which is, against the will of Krishna, then it is illusory. It's not that flower is, that was explained in the purport, the flower does not exist, it's an illusion. It's the way it is used makes it illusory. That is the essential part of this verse here. So Krishna is explaining here that everything that exists in the material world, it is coming from Him. And everything is neutral. Everything is neutral. But how we perceive whatever is in front of us, how we perceive it, will determine whether that is beneficial or not beneficial for us. And it's all based on the mind. This illusion or this maya or this falsehood is in the mind. Actually, everything is in the mind. It's based on perception. And Prabhupada gave the example of the snake. If in the dark we see one rope and we consider it to be a snake, it is based on the mind. The mind is telling us that rope is a snake. But when the darkness is gone, you'll see that it's not the snake, it is the rope. But it has always been the rope. Our mind, because of the darkness, our mind told us that the rope was a snake. And we developed that fear for the snake. But because with the influence of the light, and we could see that this is a rope, and all the fears goes away. No one is afraid. So similarly, in the material world, we have the impersonals, that is spoken later on in the purport. The impersonalists, they see everything around them, but they don't have anything to do with the world. They say, if I get involved with the world, I'll get implicated, and then, so much of suffering. And they divorce themselves from the world. They want to go away to the mountains and don't want to interact with society or anything. They don't want to interact and stay away from it. By doing that, they don't get implicated in anything. But the right thing to do is, whatever's around, use it in a positive way so you benefit and everybody else benefit. The example is given in Nectar of Instruction of the, sometimes, somebody, there may be some, like a coin or a note on the ground, money. So one person may come and then he sees that thing on the ground, that money, and he picks it up and he uses that money for his own purpose. He uses it for his own purpose. It doesn't belong to him. I remember Parthasarthi Maharaj in the 10th campaign, he would say, somebody would see that. If he sees a 10 rand on the ground, he'll walk as if then he'll be looking around and he'll tramp the 10 rand. He'll put his foot over it. Then what he'll do is make like he's picking his socks up, he's picking his socks up, and he'll pick the 10 rand and he'll put it in his pocket, and he'll go to the shop and he'll buy something and he'll have it. Yeah. And then the other person will come, he'll see the 10 rand, it doesn't belong to me, I want nothing to do with it. He'll walk around the 10 rand. He'll walk around it. Have nothing to do with it. And then the third person, the Good Samaritan, he'll come there, see a 10 rand note, and then he'll look around, he'll see, he'll pick it up, and then he'll find the rightful owner, and he'll give a 10 rand to the person there. He's happy, he did this good deed for the day. The person who lost the 10 rand, he's happy because his money came back to him, albeit without interest, but he got his money back. So this is how we're supposed to see in the material world. That, or whatever we see, we have to use it in such a way that it will please Krishna, it will please society, and also it will please us. Yeah. And when we do that, everyone becomes happy. Then the example is given, same of the parent. The parent is providing everything for the child or for the children. He's providing everything. He's working so hard. He's bringing everything to the child. And the child, out of appreciation, or the father may, or the parent may buy something for the child, or gift, or candy, or whatever it is, and give it to the child. And upon receiving it, the child becomes very, very happy, elated, and excited. Now, the parent becomes happy when the child is happy on receiving the gift, isn't? If you buy something for your child, although however small it may be, but that emotion or the sentiment on receiving it, when the child is pleased, it pleases the parent. It's worth the energy, it's worth the work, it's worth the sacrifice, everything. It's worth it. They become happy. But the biggest thing is that, just say if you buy something for the child, buy the child a fruit or a banana, and the child opens the banana and then breaks a piece and says, "This is for you, Dad, you can have a piece," yeah. How much that gesture of gratitude or kindness to the parent, it's like, it's out of this world, It pleases although the parent can buy dozens of bananas and eat, but the piece that the child gave him, a small portion, it overwhelms him with sentiment, So similarly, in the material world also, we are all, Krishna, Aham bija pradapita, I am the seed-giving father of all living entities. Krishna is the father. And Krishna is a most charitable person, most charitable. He's giving air, water, light, grains, fruit, oxygen, and carbon dioxide for plants. Everything. He's providing everything. The most generous and most charitable person. He's giving without any obligation. He's giving to the whole world. That's why they said charity is a divine quality. It's a divine quality. Because it's coming from Krishna. It's charity. And then when we receive whatever from Krishna, all these tokens or these charitable gifts we're getting from Krishna, and if we reciprocate with Krishna, by offering to him or offering to our fellow beings, like our brothers and sisters, like the parent becomes so happy when the children share. Sometimes you have the kids, when you give them like one packet of chips, one. The guy with the child with the highest IQ, he works it out. He'll finish his first quickly, and must always share. You tell the other siblings, and then try and get something. So basically, the living entity is meant to do that, to offer. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, if one offers me leaf, flower, fruit, he's saying this idea about offering is there. And then when we do that, we please Krishna, and we that reciprocation makes us happy and makes him happy. Not only that constitutes an act of devotion, and which can take us back to Godhead. Something so simple, although in the material world it's so simple, but that activity can take us out of the material world. And then, how we see things, in the material world is based on what mode we are, in what mode. By the influence of the mode, we may see things, you know, like how the person in the mode of goodness, he knows what to do, what not to do, when, why, how, where to go, where not to go. And then by having that kind of knowledge or ability or that influence, then we get less implicated and we lead a more blissful life. That is not the best, but it's a start. And then one in the mode of passion, he's like, sometimes he gets it right, sometimes he doesn't get it right. And the one in the mode of ignorance, he's backward. He's like, got everything like, topsy-turvy. And sometimes a person in the mode of ignorance, he'll say, no, eating meat is good. Now, eating meat is good, but deity worship is wrong. Idol worship. That's, it's completely. The person ignorant will think like that. And he'll say, no, it's good to be, being vegan is right, but also condone abortion. That is the person in ignorance. He thinks, that's how he thinks. There's no rational in his thinking. So one has to come out of the modes of material nature, and to come out, to transcend the modes, one has to, like how Prabhupada explains in the purport and also in the following verses, how one has to seek the guidance, of different personalities. One can teach himself from the books or hearing, or follow somebody who is on the right path, or follow Krishna by his example, like that. And by doing that, then one can come out of this illusion. "32. Actually, there was 4 pages. I did something. I didn't do anything from this. Yeah, just like, nothing. Yeah. So yeah, it's like this purport is like very long. It is very intense. Like yeah. So I didn't go with that. I just went with general. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yeah. Yeah.